So let's explore some of the far-reaching benefits, the medicines, the blessings of stepping back into an animist perspective, a green animist perspective. And I'm not going to unpack this too much because I really would love for you to kind of chew on this stuff, meditate on this stuff yourself, and see where you find it taking you, right? How you can find those ripples, right? By us changing how we see and interact and walk through the world and hold space in the world, how there's a ripple effect that changes some things that maybe we wouldn't normally expect. So the first thing is ecology, right? That when we live in a world full of people and respect and relationship is fundamental to what we are trying to do, ecology is a natural side effect. That we understand that what we do to other people, we do to ourselves. We understand that there are non-human people who share their world with us, who we share our world with, that are capable of causing us problems, right? And we would very much like to avoid those problems. We want to live in a world of harmony and blessings and abundance. And animism offers us that through our relationship with non-human people that have more power and more wisdom and different perspective than us. So ecology is natural because when we approach, for example, an ancient old growth forest, the current thought for most conditioned brains is resource tapping. Oh, look, there's so much wood here. This is good wood. We're going to come in and cut all these trees out, turn them into lumber, and then we're going to graze our animals on the land, or we're going to plant soybeans or something, right? Because not being an animist immediately implies being a human supremacist, right? It's kind of one or the other. When humans who are human supremacists walk into any space, they feel that they are lords or have dominion over that space. They can do whatever they want, right? This is all here for us to take, to exploit. There are resources to tap. There are riches to be made. They see things, not people. They see things, not beings. They see a forest filled with wood and land filled with soil, and it's free for the taking, right? When you are approaching from an animist perspective, a non-human centric perspective, you can't behave that way. It's not in you. You approach that same ancient old growth forest and recognize it to be the home of many, many non-human people, that every tree is a sentient conscious being, that there are endless number of non-human animals who live there, critters, bugs, plants, mushrooms, mosses, molds, algae, that within the haunts of those forests, as the stories handed down from our deep ancestors remind us, there are many other than human beings who occupy this place, who call this place home and have called it home since time immemorial. The other folk, the Fae, the ancestors who have returned into the land. So to step up to that place and to think, oh, this is all resources free for the taking. I've got a bulldozer, so I can do whatever I want, would not cross your mind. Because you would understand that bulldozing that forest without being in relationship with it, it's not to say that removing trees is not impossible. It's just done with respect, right? Is not there. My personal definition of animism, by the way, it only works for people who have a definition from people who are more eloquent and more intelligent than I am, like Graham Harvey and Arth Harder. My definition of animism is just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Period. We can go bulldoze the forest. We can explode the mountain to do deep mining for minerals. We can. We have the technology, the ability, the human force, the power, the money, we can do it. We absolutely can do it. It's relatively easy, actually. But that does not mean that we should do it, right? So ecology is built into the animist framework, because as an animist, you cannot do anything you want just because you can. There are other people to take into consideration. There are other homes, other tracks, other lifeways. And some of those people, if you want to get really basic about it, a lot of those people are stronger than you. They're smarter than you, and they are more powerful than you in ways that humans are not powerful. So we might not see the immediate obvious repercussions of our transgressions, but when we anger these non-human or other than human or more than human people, there will be recompense for that. So even if you're fueled entirely by fear, you're still going to have respect, right? And ideally our respect is love fueled, right? But even if all we can muster up is being afraid of what might happen to us if we piss off the fairies, cool. It's going to keep us in check, right? It's going to keep us doing the right thing. So ecology is built in, making sure that everything we do supports and nourishes and feeds into the well-being of all other people. Next is equity. Equity is a huge part of the animist perspective and what's built into animism. Animism is ultimately a tradition and a perspective of community, of tribe, of kin, right? That nobody is in anything alone, right? Whatever we do impacts the people that share the world with us, both human and other than human. So equity means that when we take, when we harvest, when we remove, we're always going to be aware of that respect factor, that sacred hospitality factor, that what we take is enough for everybody. The key word here being enough, right? And so animism is about taking only what we need, making sure that everybody has their share, and preserving or protecting what's left, right? So if we look at this through the lens of herbalism, right? I'm an herbalist. I love working with plants. I grow plants. I harvest plants. If we work this kind of idea through plants, here's where it takes us. Let's say that you come to a very old stand of some kind of medicine, right? Let's say where I am, Lomatium, right? So you're hiking and you stumble across this beautiful, healthy, vibrant stand of Lomatium, and you're like, this is good medicine. I'd love to have some little bit of Lomatium for me and my family. Or maybe if it's me, I think in terms of how much Lomatium would it take for me to serve my community, right? Out of the apothecary for 1 year until next year. And you're surveying the stand and you're thinking in terms of, how much can the stand afford to give? You don't want to take the whole thing. Lomatium is a root, so when you take it, the plant is dead. They're no longer reproducing. That is the end for that plant. So maybe you're taking 10% total of that stand, which to me is fair. Then we also have to think in that equitable way. I wonder what other humans come to this place and harvest Lomatium. I wonder if any of those humans are coming here because this is their primary form of healthcare. This is their ancestral form of healthcare. This is a stand that they've been visiting, their people have been visiting for generations. Or maybe this is the only kind of healthcare they have access to, for financial reasons, for socioeconomic reasons, whatever. So we have to think about other people first, right? The plant people, how much can I take? 10% of the stand. And then other human people, who else needs this besides me? And then we have to extend to other than human and non-human and more than human people and think about what other beings inhabit that area and call that area home, and what damage will we do by removing and disturbing the soil, and how can we tread lightly, right? How can we do it in a way that maybe adds to the space, that is good for the soil, is good for the plants. So equity applies to all the people, but it's really relevant right now to other humans, right? That we're making sure that everybody has enough and that everybody has access to the same tools, the same resources, the same inspiration, the same nourishment, the same protection, right? That's equity. Equality doesn't really work that much anymore, because equality is always going to be coming from one side defining where the balance is. Equity is more fluid. It's more relationship based. It's more respect and hospitality based. So animism cultivates equity almost as an effortless byproduct, right? We don't really have to like try hard to make ecological or equitable moves in our animism. It's kind of just what happens. That's just kind of how it works. And that's great because it's what we need in the world right now. Last but not least, respect. We come back to respect. The world is filled with people, some of whom are human, all of whom deserve respect. That when we walk through the world with respect, recognizing that other people are people too, that these spaces are someone's home, that our short time in a place is one thing, but somebody's there all the time living there, that what we do has long, far-reaching repercussions, that there are spiritual repercussions to our actions, that everything we do is ritual and we need to be mindful of what rituals we're creating, right? Respect with a little bit of fear, a little bit of healthy fear keeps us on our toes, right? But ultimately love-based, 90% love, 10% fear. I think that's a good ratio. Respect is paramount and fundamental to a nature-based spirituality, to a magical medicinal spirituality, to plant-based spirituality, to animism, to getting back to the roots of our ancestral traditions, pre-colonization, pre-forced conversion. Respect is the key. And the nice thing is this is the kind of respect that it's fun to have, right? Because we step into a world of relationships, of new friends, of new connections, of new teachers, right? Of new experiences. So it's very fun. It's not, the kind of respect that feels forced. It's not an ethics class. It's this natural bubbling up of respect based on relationship and wanting to be part of things, right? Wanting to be a contributing part of things. So I want to end this video on the topic of alienation, right? The greatest hoax ever pulled on human people is that we are separate from the world, right? Human supremacy, that somehow there's humans and then there's the world we live in. We're dominant over, we have lordship over, we have control over, these are resources here for our taking. That separateness is so toxic and so damaging, and you can see the effects of it right now wherever you live in the world. That lie that we are separate from nature was created by people who wanted to do whatever they wanted, right? By telling us that we had some kind of special privilege, some kind of control or dominion over the natural world, they excused their own behaviors, right? They said that to make room for the things they wanted to do and make what they wanted to do acceptable. Not pointing any fingers, but that's why that lie is in place, to protect the powerful, right? And this is not how animism works. Animism is a tradition of equity, not of supremacy or power structures. Supremacist doctrines put humans over nature, land, animals, plants, places, water, dirt. And then it keeps going. It's a disease. It continues to move forward. And from there, humans become dominant over nature itself. Nature with a capital N, right? The spirit of things, the virtue of things. And then it keeps going, and we find humans becoming supremacist over other humans. Suddenly we have castes, racial and color supremacies, gender supremacies, and I think it can keep going even further. So animism is a medicine and a ritual and a magical act to bring us back into a state of true respect, true ecology, true equity, where just because we can Doesn't mean we should, and doesn't mean we want to. You can do a lot of things. Doesn't mean that it lines up with your spirit, with your heart, or what you know is good. The ancient animist perspective of all of our shared ancestors is simultaneously a balm, a healing balm, right? And a bane, a poison. It's a balm to heal what's been done, to help us start to heal where we are and how we've got here. It's a bane and a poison to protect us from having any of this ever happen again, if it's not too late, right? So there is this bi-directional, this liminal energy of stepping back into an animist perspective that heals the damage and protects us from further damage or from repeating a very toxic cycle. It's an invitation for us to let it end here, to get back into healthy, hospitable, guest host, spiritual relationships with the land, with earth, with other humans, with animals, with plants, with the spiritual beings that inhabit this world and share it with us, with our ancestors, with our mighty dead, with the old gods. That's where it takes us.